Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3Tier, and welcome to another episode of the People's Questions, where I answer all the questions that you guys have sent me over the past week. Sadly, for this particular video, it may end up being shorter than I think some of you may be expecting, because I did get a lot of responses in the last video. I believe well over 40. So a lot of those questions were just like one-word questions or one-word answers. So if there's a question that you know you put in the last video, or if you haven't been given a notification, that's where the answer for that question is. But there were some in here that I think were good enough to actually warrant being added to today's video. So that's where we stand. So starting off with the first question coming from VBlader1, and you want to know, if I could switch the characters from any two Final Fantasy games to fit them into others' plots, who would they be? The problem with this question is that the one thing I'll give Square credit, whether it's Square or Square Enix, they've done really a good job of giving you characters, a majority of characters, I would say at least past Final Fantasy II, where if there's a playable character, they're there for a reason, and therefore to take them out would ruin either the flow of the plot or it would ruin a significant moment. Like when you really think about it, even going through all the games when I went from 3 to 4, it's like, even if they don't have much of a moment, there is a key moment where the game focuses on something that they are doing. And to take them out would mess with the whole pace of the game. And so I really don't think you can really do that in terms of Final Fantasy. Now, there might be other games you could do that with, but I don't think you could do that with Final Fantasy. Next question comes from Sentis Scarpino, and you want to know, what kind of day is my favorite? Easy, rainy days. I don't know, I just feel like rainy days kind of symbolize how I constantly feel inside. And rain isn't necessarily a bad thing, you know, just water coming from the sky. I mean, you know, water is, I think, is a pretty positive thing. And just the sound of rain, especially heavy rain. I mean, while I was in Taiwan, it rained a lot, and so I felt very, very comfortable there. But I think that's just because of how the climate is down there. But yeah, rainy days. Next question comes from Shadow Deus Gaming, and you want to know, Colonel Volgin versus Krauser. Now, I actually thought this might be a little bit complicated, but when I really sit down and I think about it, I'm leaning more towards Krauser, because Krauser doesn't need a gun. Okay, the thing about Volgin is that Volgin is effective when you have weapons equipped. So as long as he doesn't carry a gun, or he's not holding a gun, Volgin's attacks can't really hit him. He's fast enough to dodge his bullet firing abilities, and I don't think Volgin isn't fast enough to dodge his Krauser's beer drive attack or blade drive. And I don't think he has a defense against that. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that Krauser would probably end up killing Volgin. And I think he would make sure he was dead instead of allowing him to live. And then the whole last of the game playing out. So, yeah. Next question comes from Will Williams. You want to know, if I were to put Leon S. Kennedy in a matchup, who would I have him fight? And who would win? Here's the problem with Leon S. Kennedy. Leon S. Kennedy is my favorite Resident Evil character. But he's the kind of character that I don't really have a combatant to put him up against, because there's no one who he hasn't met. He's met everybody. He's met Chris. He's met Jill. He's met Barry. He's met Rebecca. He's met all the possible survivors you could. He's met everybody. And so who do you put him up against? There's no one left. And the way I like to structure my matchups is that the key rule is that these characters could not meet, because that way they're going into these matchups blind. But there's no one he hasn't met, and the only type of opponents that you could put him up against are monster creatures, and that just doesn't seem fair. But then again, if you increase his equipment, then that changes everything. It's just like in the confines of how the matchup structure works, Leon is probably the one character you couldn't use. Now, I know that a lot of people have said, why don't you just do Leon and Chris? It's because they not only know each other, they've met and they've had like a tiny little struggle. So that kind of gives you an idea of what would happen. And to be honest, even though Leon is my favorite character, I don't really have much of an interest to put him in a matchup. It's not needed. Next question comes from Young Y. You want to know, what is the best food when playing video games? Well, I have two specifically. I either can eat Panda Express's orange chicken or any type of pizza. But I tend, but to be honest, I go to Panda Express really only after I see a movie because I call it my thinking food. So I guess I would lean more towards pizza, I would say. The next question comes from the Immortal Super Being. You want to know who would win in my eyes, the Clone Army or the Chimeran Army? Probably the Clone Army, because the thing about the Chimeran Army, at least from what we've seen, they only seem to attack or invade people that are technologically inferior to them, which is why they had so much success when they attacked Earth. But if the Chimeran Army were to take on such a well-organized and technologically advanced army like the Clone Army, I really don't think they would do nearly as well. The Clone Army is a very, very well-trained army, better than I would say any army trained here at least during that time period. So yeah, I certainly do think the Clone Army would do a much better job against the Chimeran Army. Next question comes from Phantom Sidious. What are my overall thoughts on the Star Wars Special Edition changes? Best ones to worst ones? Best ones. Honestly, I think the best ones that they did to them was I think they kind of fixed the coloring for the lightsabers. I really appreciate that. But I think the best one that they did was they changed the look of the Emperor. They had it made it be consistent with how he looked in the prequels, which I thought was an amazing choice. And I think the worst ones that I can recall, I absolutely hated that song that they played in the beginning of Return of the Jedi in Jabba's palace. And I think the worst offense by far is it's at the end of the movie of Return of the Jedi, and it's at that scene where Vader's looking down at Luke while he's getting shocked by Force lightning, and he's saying no. It's like, why is he doing that? It's like, it's so much more impactful when he's not saying anything, because even though he's wearing a mask, you can just feel what you can kind of get a feel for how he's feeling right now. There's no need for him to be saying no. Now I understand that it's kind of been been made fun of because it happened in episode 3, but there's actually a reason that happens, and I understand it. But no, that's a story for another time. But yeah, those are the changes from best to worst in my opinion. The next question comes from Venom Rules All, and you want to know, is there any Final Fantasy world that did not do well in their games but you still think has potential? I don't think any Final Fantasy world did a bad job. I think every world that I'm familiar with, I think they did a good job fleshing it out. I mean, there's always room to, add more lore to it, but I'd say in the confines of its own game, I thought it did a pretty solid job. And the last question of the episode comes from Virgil, the son of Sparta. You want to know, what is the worst thing I've ever done to anyone, or at least regret doing? Regret doing. I think I regret being as trustworthy towards a girl that I used to call a friend. We're not friends anymore, but I regret trusting her to the level that I did. It's one of those, and I'm a very helpful person, and I don't think I do anything that pushes people away. But this person who I'd known for years just kind of up and just kind of just threw me away like I was nothing, and that really affected me. And it was somewhat recent, so took a few months to get over it, but I just kind of, when I think about everything I had done to help this person out, and then to just be treated like that, it really kind of upset me. I kind of wish I could go back and kind of inform myself to, Brian, don't try to help this person out as much as you feel like you can, because it's going to backfire in a big way. And that is going to be all the questions for this particular episode. I would like to thank everyone whose question made it into the video, and everyone who actually posted a question for the last video. If you guys have any more questions you'd like me to try and answer for next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. But make sure you get them into me probably before noon of Wednesday, before I start filming the next episode. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.